Hello and welcome to this exclusive interview. Today, we're talking to Justice Dr. Jane Ansah. She is the chairperson of the Malawi Electoral Commission. Welcome to this interview.
Thank you.
It's been more than 3 weeks now since the election results were announced. And I know that the process is quite hectic and stressful. What have you been up to from that time?
Oh, after the announcement, I'm leading my normal life.
Okay. Did you take a holiday maybe to just relax a bit?
No. I went for a funeral.
Oh yeah, I understand you traveled outside the country. Was it someone, a close relation to you?
Very close.
No, my condolences on that.
Yes.
Let's go straight to the elephant in the room, and that's the issue of the results of the 21st May election results. As we are speaking, there is a case in court where two of the opposition political parties, the MCP and the UTM, are disputing the election results. And the state president also made reference when they were doing a rally at Njamba Freedom Park that he felt that the Central Region vote was stolen from him. Does it come to you as a surprise that people are claiming that the elections were rigged?
Yes, it comes as a surprise. For the simple reason that they made the whole process transparent. You know that MEC is the elections management body. And at MEC, the number of staff is less than 200, including the drivers, the cleaners, and everyone. And when it comes to election management, we are managing the elections together with we are managing the elections, but those that are there that we work with are the stakeholders. And the biggest stakeholders are political parties. And there are institutions that were established to make the working together easy, so that both the MEC and the stakeholders are on the same page in the whole process from beginning to the end.
Are you, as the Electoral Commission, of the opinion that possibly the election would have been rigged?
I look at the process. According to the process that we put in place, I don't see any room for rigging. There are things that MEC had to do on its part. And in working together with the stakeholders had also to do particular things. For example, I'll take you through the whole process. From the time that the elections were launched last year, we were having meetings with the stakeholders through this body, NECOF, National Consultative Forum, where everybody that is affected by election is represented. In the NECOF, you have secretary generals of political parties present. They attend CSOs, they attend government officials, traditional leaders, even in the media, they also attend. So there's no sector of the community that is left out without representation. And at those meetings, we shared what was on the ground, what we are doing, so that everybody was in the know. And apart from that, MEC is a listening body. Knowing that we work with the stakeholders, we would share what we have put in place and then get a feedback from the stakeholders. Through that feedback, they will also tell us, maybe make a recommendation for certain things. We would look at them and then incorporate them if they are doable. For example, there were requests about inclusion of women, in inclusion of women, the disabled, the young people. We looked at it as a commission, and we gave concessions on the nomination fees to women. Women were given 50% off, disabled and the youth.
Yes.
That's one of the examples. And also, in the NECOF, together with all stakeholders, we came up with codes of conduct. And those codes of conduct were signed for by those involved with an undertaking that they will follow them. There's a code of conduct for political parties and the candidates. There's a code of conduct for media houses, journalists, on how to play their part in educating and informing the nation on what is going on. There's a code of conduct for traditional leaders. So all these codes of conduct, MEC did not sit on its own and come up with them. But in a consultation, discussions with the stakeholders, we came up with them. And the stakeholders made an undertaking that they will observe and abide by their own codes of conduct.
Help me understand this. What I see is a pattern. Before the elections, there were allegations that some political parties were planning to rig the elections. Almost all the three major political parties, UTM, MCP, and DPP, made those allegations and claims. After the elections, the three major parties came out and said the election was rigged. And these are political parties that are sharing almost 70% of the total national vote that was cast. So the three major political parties are alleging that there was rigging in the elections. And the Electoral Commission maintains that there couldn't have been any rigging in the election.
You see, what I'm saying is that the process, the way it is, to us, it is watertight. Because the way that if two people are doing a thing together, if the thing has been done well, it is not one person, but both of them have made their contribution. If the things have not gone well, both of them have made a contribution. So in what I'm saying is that the process, we did not leave any stakeholder out.
Okay.
And the stakeholders had their part to play and make its part to play. And for the two sides playing their parts properly, there's no room for rigging. So we put all the necessary processes to ensure that there's no rigging. So when I look at the process,
yes,
I believe that the process is watertight.
Now let's look at what this process brought out. And I'd like us to go back to see where all this started. I think for most Malawians, the first thing that sent a signal that things were not right was when you admitted that there were some forms that were altered using some correction fluid. And I'm reading what you said verbatim. You said, on the TPEX results, yes, we have received forms that are TPEXed, and the TPEX is in the section which we talked about Friday, that they, referring to polling staff, were having difficulties balancing. It is a surprise to us that the forms are TPEXed because MEC does not provide TPEX, and during training we emphasized to the hired staff that we do not provide TPEX, we should not see TPEX, and we're just as surprised that there is TPEX. However, the part where it is TPEXed is a part that they are balancing the number of materials received, like ballots, those used and those not used. But on the part of captured results, they are intact. Did you establish where this correction fluid was coming from?
You know, this matter is in court, and I do not intend to give evidence to the media. I would rather leave it that when the time comes to give evidence, it will be given to court. But all I can say is that TPEX is a trade name. What that fluid is called is a correction fluid.
Yes.
And the correction fluid, if you check in the dictionary, you correct the errors. So that's what the court will find out, whether the correction fluid was used for positive or negative purposes. So that's a matter for the court.
But you are saying that we emphasized to the hired staff that we do not provide TPEX, we should not see TPEX, and we are just as surprised that there's TPEX. Why were you surprised that there was correction fluid used?
It's exactly what we are reading, because we did not provide. But why that statement was said, that they should not use the TPEX, because in all the other elections, the MEC has never supplied the TPEX, but the results will come with the TPEX. So that's why during the training, we emphasized that we should not see TPEX.
So in your words, it was okay to use any other correction fluid other than TPEX. Am I getting you right?
No, I am saying TPEX is a correction fluid.
Yes.
But the TPEX is a trade name.
So
what I'm saying is, I am not giving evidence.
Okay, all right, yeah.
What sure. I'm saying is, TPEX can be used for positive or negative purposes. And that is for the court to find out. And I'm not going to give any evidence.
I don't want us to go there, because obviously there are matters in court. But what I want to understand is, what was your advice when the polling staff, they have a problem that they have to correct on the form? How did you advise them to correct that form? In case, like here, you're talking about them struggling to balance. In an event that they were struggling to balance it, how did you advise them to resolve that problem?
We did not foresee that there would be those problems.
But you indicated that in the previous elections, there had been forms that were altered by TPEX, and that you made it clear that they should not use TPEX, in which case it shows that you anticipated that there might be, let's call it a temptation, to use TPEX to resolve a certain problem. So it might have been wise to anticipate that and advise that in this case, this is what we expect you to do.
No, we didn't advise them on what to do, because these are staff that are trained. The purpose of the training is that they should do the right thing. And when we say staff, it was not just one person, but there were several people involved. We expected them to do thorough work.
In the case that they really struggled with the balancing and they wanted to rectify it and stick to what you would consider the right thing, what would that right thing be? I'm thinking on behalf of a returning officer and his team who are really struggling to balance this, but they don't want to use the correction fluid. They need to do something that is going to be admissible and that is going to be acceptable by you. What would this person have to do?
No, as I've said, I cannot go into details.
Okay.
I'll let that pass.
But I would still presume that you still accepted these forms, because you seem to be referring to forms that you were getting that had alterations with TPEX. Did you accept to use these forms in the election results tallying?
That's what I'm saying, that I'm not giving evidence here. That will be for the court to determine. It suffices. What I have said suffices.
It does, but I'm still wondering, because any legal document, and I consider these forms legal documents, cannot be accepted in any altered form. Many examples have been given. I think the most popular example is a situation where you want to cash a check in a bank. Any alteration on the check is not accepted. You have to literally trash that and start filling it again. Now, when you were surprised that some forms were being T-Pexed, some parts were being T-Pexed out, how did you treat those situations?
As I have said, the matter is in court, and those questions will be answered in court.
Let's move on to something else that is equally interesting. Early in the voting process, it was discovered that the then Vice President, Dr. Salos Chilima's name had been transferred from his polling center to another polling center on, I think, Lugoma or Chizumuru. Did you follow up on that incident?
Yes, as I explained, during that time, that indeed we discovered that had happened, and we made a follow-up and found who had done the transfer. Okay. And we said it is one of the hired make staff who was not with us at that time, but we gave the particulars and reported the matter to police for the police to investigate and get this person.
What did they say the reason was for doing that? Did you ever find out?
We don't know if the police have found the person and have interviewed him. We are yet to get a report.
Are you not interested to know if the police have done that, considering that this might have affected the credibility of the election process?
Yeah, we are interested, but we have not received a report from the police.
Have you tried to approach the police to follow up if they have been following up on this matter?
We do.
So 3 weeks after this investigation, or even more than 4 weeks, we still haven't gotten, you've not been furnished with any details from the police as to how far they have gone with this?
Yes, that question can be answered by the police, because MEC is not an investigative body. We did what we could do, identified who did the transfer, from which kit, and then gave all that information for the police to work with.
But the question you can answer is, don't you find it peculiar that it has taken them so long to follow up on this matter that we consider very critical and important? Are you okay with what is happening?
As I'm saying, I am not an investigator. And when you live with the experts, you wait for them. You can make a follow-up, where are we? And when you don't get it, you will not get up and do the work.
How long are you willing to wait for the police to come back to you?
Well, we have been following. It's not that we are willing to wait, but when they have the information, they will let us know. And in fact, when they do find the information, the process is that they look and interview, they look at the information when they have taken somebody, and they will take the matter to the DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, if the matter warrants prosecution. MEC will be just invited as a witness by the DPP. That's how criminal law works.
Considering the level of preparation you put into this, wasn't it frustrating to you that something like this could have happened? Because I think, to me, it points at weaknesses in the system. The system must have been designed to check against these illegal transfers. But someone not only attempted to do it, but they even successfully did it.
You remember that after registration, there was a period for verification. And during the verification, it's also the period where we said those that want to transfer can transfer. So during that period, the transfers were made. And we are talking of millions of people that registered and a good number of people that transferred. Out of all those transfers, where there's a query is just one. I don't think it's maybe too much because it's just one person. When you look at the totality of the numbers we are dealing with.
You are on record as saying that you received 147 queries, but in the course of doing the press briefings at Comesa Hall in Blantyre, there was a time when you indicated that you had not received any complaints from the Malawi Congress Party, and the party was totally stunned to hear that, because they alleged that they had already filed more than 11 complaints to the Electoral Commission, and that the Electoral Commission had acknowledged receipt of these complaints. Do you recall having received these complaints, but still going ahead to say you had not received the complaints from the MCP?
If you can go back to what I said, you will get it correctly. In the end, I even gave the numbers of complaints in the presidential elections, complaints for parliamentary elections, and the complaints for councillors. And what I said was that there was one letter, one complaint that MCP gave. And I got the other complaints that we dealt with were from the social media. And I even explained each complaint and how it was resolved.
Just refresh our memory on what the nature of these complaints were, because I think most Malawians were curious to know what these political parties were complaining about. What is it exactly that the 147 complaints contained? What was it all about?
Well, it was various, and I said it.
Yes.
As I said, this matter is in court.
Yes, I know.
I'll leave it because I already explained in detail.
But still,
and if you can recall, most of them were for members of parliament and the ward, and I explained each and everything. So I cannot say much. The complaints that we received, we dealt with them and wrote back to all the complainants. Even during the briefing, I said it. When you go back, listen to the briefing, you will get it exactly what I said about the complaints.
So you are assuring us that all the 147 queries that the political parties lodged with the Electoral Commission were resolved?
Yes.
And this was communicated to the political parties?
Yes.
And that they were agreeable to how these matters were resolved?
There's a process. The commission sits as a tribunal. When the commission looks at a complaint and it deals with it, communicates to the complainant, if the complainant is not satisfied, there's a way of dealing it. It's by way of appeal to the High Court. In the similar manner that in all cases, you will begin with the magistrate court. If the judgment is not, you are not satisfied, you appeal to the High Court. If you are not satisfied at the High Court, you appeal to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So you see, the law foresaw all this, that the commission sits as a tribunal, and the decision of the determinations of the tribunal are appealable to the High Court. So when we dealt with all the complaints and gave determinations in writing, giving reasons, those that were satisfied, I believe they did not proceed, but those that were not satisfied, they've got a right of appeal to the High Court. That's how cases everywhere are done.
Out of curiosity, as an ordinary citizen, am I able to access these resolutions of the queries that were made, just so in case I'm interested to see how the matters were resolved?
Yeah, I am sure.
Yeah.
I am sure.
This is an exclusive
because
interview.
Those are the letters that were written, and if you want to see them, you can see it's a determination. And the determination gives the reasons how you reach to, and that it's, you know, it's a determination because we are saying it's the tribunal.
Exactly.
But when it's a judgment, a court, we say it's a judgment.
Yes, yes. And
if it's a preliminary case, a preliminary issue, we say a ruling or an order. So, but in a ordinary language and understanding, these are judgments of the commission that give reasons on how we reached the conclusion that we reached.
This is an exclusive interview with Justice Dr. Jane Ansah, the chairperson of the Malawi Electoral Commission. We're going to be right back. Welcome back. This is an exclusive interview with the chairperson of the Malawi Electoral Commission, Justice Dr. Jane Ansah. In the course of giving updates on the election results, on 25 May, the Malawi Congress Party obtained a court injunction that had two orders. And the first was staying the announcement of the presidential election results. The second was recounting of ballot papers in the presence of representatives of political parties which contested in the elections in a transparent manner in 10 districts. And I'm sure we all know those 10 districts. Now, we see you adhering to the first order, which was to stop announcing the election results. But what I'm curious to know is, did you start recounting the votes?
We didn't.
Is there any particular reason you did not do that?
That order, it was an order of an injunction. An injunction is a temporary order. It does not give the final order to be done. And the final order is done after judicial review. So that injunction was to work up to the time when judicial review will be held. And when a judicial review is done, it is both parties present, presenting their parties. So an injunction, it is just a temporary order pending judicial review.
But we still see you adhering to the first order of that injunction, which was staying the announcement of the results.
Yes, because the announcement of results was to be stayed waiting for a judicial review hearing. So that was before a judicial review hearing. It's the judicial review hearing that at the end, it will review the process and they say this is the way you should go. The way you should go, you should either go and recount as they are pleading or not. So an injunction, it stops you from doing something until a judicial review. The thing is reviewed. And after review, that's when an order will be given. So my reading of that order was that it was an injunction, pending hearing of a judicial review to recount if it was successful.
Would it be wrong to conclude that MEC was in contempt of court from the time that this injunction was served to the time that it was vacated, because it indeed stayed the announcement of the results but did not set in motion processes to start recounting the vote?
No, I don't think MEC was in contempt.
What would have needed to happen for the Electoral Commission to start recounting the votes? What was needed? If it wasn't this order that the MCP got from the courts, what was needed for you to start recounting?
We needed an order for for recounting after hearing of the judicial review.
Yeah, but I'm still struggling to understand, because the injunction that was served to me had two orders. And I do fully appreciate what you're saying, but I'm still struggling to understand, why would the MCP call for a recount of votes in the 10 districts and also bind you from announcing the election results? And we see you stopping the announcement of the presidential results, but not adhering to the second order. So that's what I just wanted to understand.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yes.
That according to my understanding of the order, an injunction stopped us from announcing a result.
Yes.
Pending or waiting for the hearing of a judicial review procedure, a hearing, that there was a need for recounting. So that had not been heard.
Okay.
You know, the judicial review, it is not done ex parte. When we say ex parte, it is not just one party that will go and say, this is my problem, this is my complaint, now decide on it. No, the court process always deals with both parties.
Yes.
And it is only in special circumstances that they will entertain an application by one party. That's why when there was an application to vacate the injunction, which could have been done ex parte by make alone, but the court ordered that it should be inter partes. Both parties should be there. He must hear from this side and also that side for them to come up with an order. So that order, I'm saying it was for an injunction, pending, waiting for the actual hearing, which would have brought the order for a recount.
If that order had been made, was the Electoral Commission ready to recount the vote?
Yes, definitely. The Electoral Commission respects the judgment of the court.
When MEC lawyers were seeking to vacate this injunction, what were their arguments? What exactly were they trying to achieve? Or what were they against?
But that ruling, it's in the public domain.
I want to hear how you understood it.
You know the law, the judgment said, according to the law, once the results process has started, it cannot be stopped. So that's how the ruling came. It followed that law.
It should be in the interest of the Electoral Commission to ensure that everything is done in a fair and credible manner. And in an instance where one party feels aggrieved and says, can we stop this and make sure that this is addressed? I would expect the Electoral Commission to say, oh, by all means, let's go ahead and do that. But that's not what we see the Electoral Commission doing in this case.
The Electoral Commission does not come up with its own laws. But within the law, which is given to the Electoral Commission to work, we come up with the procedures. So we will not go outside the law. We are guided by the law. So we looked at the law and we said, let the law guide us.
The MEC lawyers were arguing that MCP erred in rushing to court when the Commission was not given the opportunity to resolve grievances as directed by the High Court. Is this a right capturing of what exactly was going on at that time?
Yes, they had given in a complaint before the MEC gave a feedback. They went to court.
And this is what you had a problem with?
I've said we work within the law. And the law makes all that provision.
Because to me, from where I'm sitting, it looked like the Electoral Commission was not keen to adhere to this injunction and go ahead and recount the vote. That's how I see it.
No, the Commission adheres to the law and operates according to the law. So we look at the law and operate according to the law. The law is the one that has made the provision that the MAC should receive complaints, and when the complaints are come, it should look into them and give a feedback. And the MAC cannot just receive a complaint now, and the next minute, without doing the necessary work, you give a complaint, you give a feedback. You have to follow through the complaint. And this was made very clearly when I was giving the update. After following through, I came and updated the nation. We received this complaint. This is how we have handled it, and this is the final outcome. It was there, very clear, that I gave the update. Throughout, we gave the update. Even for the 147, we gave an update. Go back to the recordings, you will find them.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but for most Malawians, this is a case of deja vu, because in 2014 we had similar scenarios. And in that time, I remember that MEC argued that it would not release unreliable results and that it was willing to recount all the 4 million votes at that time and announce the results in about 30 days. But what we see the Electoral Commission doing in 2019 doesn't seem to be in the interest of the majority that wanted the vote recounted. Because I think in the first instance in 2014, it is clear that the Electoral Commission was keen to recount the vote and announce the results later. But in this instance, it looks like the Electoral Commission is not very keen to do just that. Instead, it's going ahead to vacate the injunction so that it can go ahead and announce these results, which by now are in contest.
But that is also what happened in 2014. There was an injunction or 2 injunctions. Mm-hmm. They were vacated at what time? And that is when the results were announced. I believe it is important, really. I do not think each and every Malawian can be a lawyer and they can follow through. But when things are being explained in a simple language, it will be in the interest of all Malawians to really follow through and understand, but not to be selective in what is taken and the other things are left out. Because, Malawians are saying something different from what others have seen from outside. Someone from the Commonwealth that I met said the way the process was, it is a very good example which the Commonwealth should emulate. Malawi is one of the first few countries in the world where they have used auditors in an effort to be transparent. When you look through the whole process, it is so transparent. Nothing was done under anything. For example, I even encouraged the stakeholders, and in particular political parties, to have their own tally centers so that they can tally. Why did I encourage them to have tally centers? Because I knew that they gave us even the names of their monitors. And the monitors were trained with funding from UNDP. And we expected that as the monitors participated on behalf of their candidates or political parties, they will have the results. Apart from that, the results, one of the processes was that as soon as they count and the results are known, apart from giving copies to the monitors, the results will be posted at the polling center. And these days, people, they capture everything with these cameras from the phones. That's why we see a lot of things flying around in people's cameras. So, if we did that, it means the whole process was so transparent.
I do agree that we are not lawyers, all of us, and but that's why I want to hear what your comment is on what Judge Mkandawire observed. He observed that MEC was aware that MCP had logged a complaint on irregularities in the presidential election, but the commission was going ahead to announce results before addressing the complaint. Would you agree with this observation?
No, I will not agree. I will not agree. Because the way we are processing the results, there was no way we were going to announce the results on Friday or even Saturday. When we looked at our workload, we were thinking that the results most likely will be announced on a Sunday or on a Monday, 26th or 27th. And for Judge Mkandawire to make that observation, because maybe what he was given, but we had not attempted to announce results at all. What we are doing, we said we will keep the nation informed of where we are. We will announce the results as they come. We were going to announce results at 35%. We said 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. And you remember the process. The process was that when the results are received, they will be printed. The first desk the results will be taken to is the auditors. So the auditors will audit the results and then put their stamp. After they have done that, they will give that to MEC officials, who will also look at the results, process them, look at them, and verify that they are okay. They will put another stamp and initial. After that, they will send to the commissioners for endorsement. But the commissioners did not just endorse. We also looked at every result sheet. And after that, it was stamped and initialed, sent back to the MEC officials. Then they will print the results and share with the political parties. And I think even journalists were given. Why at that time were we giving to the political party representatives? For them to audit the results. And where were they going to audit the results with? By the results that they have received from their monitors. So they will look and say, this is what we have received, check against it, and then they will know this is the same. And at one briefing, there was a result sheet, I think somebody was querying, and I took the original. I was reading the numbers, you know, the figures, to one journalist. And I said, are the figures the same? Yes, they are the same. And yet, that result sheet, they said there was a query. The figures were different. What MEC had and what they had was different. But in the presence of everybody, to the hearing of the whole nation, I had what we had and what that journalist had. The figures were exactly the same.
It's interesting that you should talk about result sheets, because there have been allegations that MEC officials were not giving the result sheets to the political party monitors, especially at the early stage of counting the vote, like at polling stations. Are you aware about this?
Well, that is one of the issues that is before the court. And I would plead with the nation and everybody to have patience and allow the court to do its work.
When the injunction was eventually vacated, I remember you were at the middle of addressing a press conference, and then you received communication that the injunction had been vacated, and you said you would take a quick recess of about 10 minutes and come back to essentially announce the results. So it is my assumption that at this time you had the final results with you, but you were just waiting for the courts to vacate the injunction. Am I right to say that?
Yes.
And when you took that 10-minute recess, which I think was a bit less than that, what did you use that time for?
We went to look at the address that had been made. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you make efforts to find out if the MCP had already been served with this notice of the vacation of the injunction?
Notice of the injunction.
Did you verify if the MCP was aware that the injunction had been vacated?
You know, the injunction was vacated at the court. Mm-hmm. Both lawyers for the MCP and the MAKE were there at the court. Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, the court did not read, but gave the ruling to the parties. So they were aware.
So you were certain that the MCP was aware that it had been vacated. Why I'm asking that is because I expected that there should be room in case the MCP needed to appeal against that judgment. In which case, they only had like the space between the vacation of the injunction and the time that you announced to make that appeal.
Well, you know, the electoral disputes, they are not appealable. Mm-hmm. From the High Court. The High Court is the highest court for electoral disputes. So it's final.
So for you, the moment that injunction was vacated, that was it, and the results had to be announced?
Yes. Because that's the highest court. Electoral disputes are not appealable from the High Court to the Supreme Court. They end at High Court level. Mm-hmm.
Would one be wrong to say the Electoral Commission was in a hurry to announce these results? Things happened so fast that evening.
The results have to be announced according to law within 8 days.
Yes.
And you remember, at that time, we had already announced the results for the members of parliament.
Yes.
And we had processed the results for the president. Mm-hmm. What was holding us was the injunction. The injunction had been vacated, and knowing that electoral disputes are not appealable to the Supreme Court, that was it. We went ahead and announced.
Soon after you announced the election results, things started happening, which have led us to where we are now, where we've got a case in court, and up to now, we're still waiting to see what is going to come out of that. And I'm sure as a commission, but also as an individual, there are many things that have been happening that are affecting you. I just want us to look at the post-announcement of the results era, what has been going on. To start with, we heard that the commission was divided just before the announcement of the results. Were there some members of the Electoral Commission that were not pleased that the election results had to be announced in that manner, or it was a unanimous agreement that everything had been done and dusted, let's announce the results, we've done a good job, let's go home?
It is news for me to hear that the commission was divided. Our work, from the time we started to the end, it was all by consensus.
So everybody in the commission was okay with what happened?
Yes.
Looking at the composition of the commission, are you confident that the process of appointing members to the commission is balanced, is fair? Does it achieve the intended purpose to ensure that we've got a commission that represents the interest of all political parties in the country?
Well, the appointment is according to law.
Yes.
The law that we have is that the president, in a consultation with political parties represented in the parliament, he will appoint. The process is that those political parties that are in parliament, they give names. And the president appoints from those names. As for the chairperson, it is the Judicial Service Commission that comes up with the name.
Mm-hmm.
That is why you find out that for the chairperson, oath is taken before the Chief Justice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Judicial Service Commission that appoints.
So as the chairperson of this commission, you are confident in the process that is involved in appointing members to that commission, and you think there can't be any way of improving the way this commission is arrived at?
I look at different commissions,
yes,
in the different nations.
Mm-hmm.
They have different ways of appointing the commissions. And some have got a similar way of appointing, like Malawi. You'll know and understand that when the laws are being made, the drafters, they just don't sit down. All of those people that want to make law sit down and say, how do we do it? Normally, they are learning trips.
Mm-hmm.
For those, they visit the different countries, they study there what they do, how they do it. Then when they come here, they look at what they have. They have the practices of other nations, and they look at their own situation, and they come up with the best situation for a country. So Malawi saw it, that it was important that political parties should be involved, mm-hmm, in the appointment of commissioners. And for me, so far, we have worked well.
Okay.
We have always reached our resolutions, mm-hmm, by consensus.
The UTM president, Saulos Chilima, wrote a letter dated 7th June addressed to you, calling for your resignation. Did you receive this letter?
Yes, I did.
And
I responded to the letter.
Okay. May I know how you responded to that letter?
I said the issues that he has pointed out, they are the gist of the matters that are in court. So I will not comment because the matter is in court.
There were calls made in that letter for you to resign. Did you see any merit in those calls?
What I can say is that what I did my work according to law. And some of the issues, maybe you have them, they were already dealt with as I was doing the update. And the people just have to go back to the update and listen again and see whether those issues were not dealt with. But having said that, I am saying if I responded to him, it will be responding to court, like giving evidence. So I would rather leave the matters to the court. Mm-hmm. And what I can only say is that those are allegations. I come from a family of 8.
Yes.
We are all 8 siblings. And within the 8 siblings, me and my brothers and my sisters, people belong to different parties. And we have a family forum. It is for family issues. Mm-hmm. But someone will throw in this and that. I never commented. I never told any of my relatives not to vote for that, to vote for that. So if I did not tell my own relatives, don't vote for ABCD, how can I go and tell somebody else? Apart from that, the way the commission works, the commission, it is not in a permanent, it's not a permanent commission like other commissions outside. We all are working on a temporary basis, like the boards. When you hear of boards of certain institutions and companies, that's how we work. It's only that the commission is called a commission, but for all purposes, it is like a board. We go to the commission for board meetings. Mm-hmm. And the commission meetings. And in those commission meetings, the secretariat bring issues. They bring with the issue paper. And they will brief us, we will go through everything, and then come up with a resolution. Mm-hmm. So the people that I meet as a chair, it is in the board meetings, is basically the CEO. And at the times when the directors come in with issue papers, or we want to ask them questions. So as a commissioners and the chair, I don't interact with the staff because it's on a temporary basis.
So the allegations made in the letter that you were telling members of staff at the Electoral Commission, or possibly the commission itself, that you would be glad if they helped you ensure that President Mutharika is re-elected, those allegations are unfounded.
Unfounded completely.
You never said that.
I never said it. That's why I'm saying, if I cannot tell my own family members, would I go and tell people at the office? In any case, for me, I believe that the processes that were in place, they are watertight for rigging. I even said it. I said it several times, that the way I looked at it, it was almost impossible to rig. Why? Because the process, you have monitors from different parties and observers, both local and international. They are observing everything from the opening, polling, closing, counting. Mm-hmm. And at that time, for them to say maybe they will falsify, bribe everybody, to me I find it impossible. And then we have auditors at the constituency level. The auditors are there to ensure that the figures are the right figures. And apart from that, coming back to the family issue.
Yes.
I know members of my family. Members of my family, they belong to MCP, UTM, DPP, and we don't indulge in telling anybody what to do.
Okay.
And apart from that, for me, I've grown up with relatives that are Muslims. My grandmother's sister, I knew her from the time I was born. And when my father died, it was her son that was looking after us, a Muslim. Apart from that, Kampata. At Kampata, they are Muslims. Mm-hmm. Those are my relatives. I go when there are funerals. When there's a wedding, I go to the mosque, I sit with them.
Okay.
Even yesterday, they were at my house. So it's absurd for anyone to say that.
Well, the letter went on to say that you particularly said you didn't want Dr. Chakwera to win, neither did you want Dr. Chilima to win for various reasons that were given in the letter. So you also did not say these words.
No, I didn't. That's why I'm saying, members of my own family, you know, I've got even wearing party colors for UTM, for MCP, telling you, now I'm going to vote. This, I've attended the meeting. And we don't discuss politics. Even me, I am at the church. We don't even discuss politics. We just preach the word. So I don't know where that is coming from.
The meetings that you have had with the commission, I presume you do keep a good record of that through minutes. Is this something that some sections of the society might have access to, just to see what forms the nature of those discussions?
Well, I don't know what the law says. I cannot just say sectors of the society can come.
Yes.
But if there was a court order, I'm sure. You know, in life, there are things that are reviewed, you know, are public, and other things are not public.
Dr. Saulos Chilima and several civil society organizations are calling for your resignation because they say you did not handle the past election very well. There were so many irregularities. Are you going to resign?
You know, what I can say is that Dr. Chilima has seen it fit that he should follow the proper procedure. The proper procedure, according to law laid down, is that if there is any complaint, the commission has dealt with it, they can take it to court. And that is what they have done. And the human rights defenders, the human rights are within our law. And the human rights are observed and enjoyed within the law. Now, there's the rule of law. The rule of law is that there must be laws that are clear and understood and easy to follow. So there are laws concerning everything that they are talking about. And to me, the right way as citizens that abide by the law is to allow the whole process to go through according to law. In our law, there is nowhere where it is said that people should take the law in their hands. What they are doing is mob justice. We don't have mob justice in Malawi. It is not allowed for people to take the law in their own hands. And also in Malawi, in the old days, in the traditional courts, it was said that you are guilty until proved not guilty. But in this dispensation, someone is not guilty until proved guilty. So what they are saying, their allegations, is Dr. Chilima and the human rights defenders, are they both investigators, prosecutors, and judges of me? That's not what the law provides, even at international standards. They must be separate. An investigator should be different from a prosecutor, from a judge. So if they have made the allegations, they should let a judge give a judgment and then act. But for them to go out to the streets, to me, that's mob justice. They have taken themselves to be investigators, prosecutors, and judges. And our law does not provide for that. That is lawlessness.
Are you going to resign?
I have said the matter is in court. I will listen from the judgment.
We have before us a situation where 3 of the major political parties are claiming that there were irregularities in the elections that we just had. And you are the one who headed that commission. Isn't that enough reason for you to accept that you didn't do a good job and resign?
If they were so convinced that they had reached a verdict about the irregularities, then they should have not gone to court. If they had not gone to court and they brought that, it would have been sorted out with them. You know, and our law also says no one should, everybody must be given a chance to be heard. Section 43 of the Constitution. So, if they are so convinced that I am guilty, what are they doing at the court? But if they are at the court, let them have enough patience to say, we have taken the matter to court, let the court decide. When the matter is concluded, then they can stand on that judgment to come to me and ask me, but not before that. So at the moment, what I believe is they don't have the mandate to ask me. Let them get the mandate first.
As a matter of principle, elsewhere, we see people resigning without necessarily waiting for all the due process of the law to be followed. But where your conviction tells you that I think I didn't do a good job, I will not wait for the courts to prove whether I did or not, but I think I accept that there were irregularities. For that reason, I don't think I'm worthy to continue heading this institution. And people do resign based on that. Should I take it that, let's put the court's issue aside, you are not convinced that there's any reason whatsoever to convince you to resign?
You know, every case is different. You have just said some people resign. You have not given any specific example and in what circumstances. So my circumstances warrant that those that are demanding that I should resign, they should have the basis. They should have the authority that enables them to tell me to do that. At the moment, they have surrendered it to the court. So let them have the patience to wait for the court process.
What would it take for you to resign? What would be convincing to you to say, I think now it's time for me to pack up my bags and go?
When the court says yes, they were, because of these irregularities, they were, the elections were not properly done.
You would then resign?
Yes.
Do you acknowledge that there were irregularities in the past election of May 21, 2019?
Well, that is the evidence that I say I'm not going to give. You see? That is the evidence that I'm not going to give, because the law is there. And what can I say? Well, I'm not going to say much.
But in the course of you giving updates at the Tale Center in Blantyre at Comesa, you seem to have been alluding to the fact that there were irregularities. And you did make reference to these. The forms that were altered, although you said the election results section was not tampered with, but that was an irregularity. You also are on record as having acknowledged that there were some people who were found with 2 ballot papers. I think if my memory serves me right, in Bangwe you said there was a case of people who were being found with such documents.
No, I don't remember saying that.
But you agree that you did allude to the fact that there were some irregularities in the election. The sheer fact that you were resolving 147 queries is to me a sign that there were irregularities.
don't draw me in the giving evidence. All that I can say is that I updated the nation concerning the complaints. If you go back, you will get the real responses that I gave. And from the responses, you will see whether there were irregularities or not.
Shortly after declaring...
You have asked whether you can access the answers. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Someone can access the responses.
Now, after you announced the results, of course, there are a series of activities that followed. That also included the inauguration of the president. And we saw you taking pictures with members of the Democratic Progressive Party at the stadium. Do you think you did the right thing to take pictures with those people?
You know, at the stadium, when I was going, I was accosted. I didn't even look at the faces of the young people. So it's a...
You were aware that these were DPP supporters?
Do you know what? As a matter of policy,
yes.
Me, I don't watch TV.
Okay.
I think I shared with you at the first time. I don't watch TV. Therefore, I don't know what people are wearing. Neither do I follow, did I follow rallies.
We saw pictures of you with people who were wearing DPP T-shirts and caps and other political party regalia, which was to me a clear sign that you must have known that they are supporters of the Democratic Progressive Party. And you went ahead and took pictures with these people.
I'm saying, as we were leaving, I was accosted and the pictures were taken. Do you understand? It's not that I sat and I say, let me go and take pictures.
You are on record as saying the truth will set me free. And it is the truth that will come from this, meaning the election. After I have done all the work here, I'll pat myself at the back and say, well done, Jane Ansah. You have done according to the law. Now that you did your work, do you still stand by these words?
Do you know, I've removed my eyes because there's one thing that you should know about the eyes. Eyes, they will not hide a lie. Eyes will show wickedness. Eyes will show love. Eyes will show hatred. I stand by what I said. Everything that I did according to law. And that's it. So my conscience is clear that I did everything according to law and according to the processes that were there.
There's nothing that you think you did that could, in whatever way, have jeopardized the results of the elections?
Not at all. Not at all.
You must have the privilege of speaking to the president at some point, and even after the announcement of the results. What does he say about how the whole thing went?
No, I haven't spoken to him.
You've not spoken to the president since you announced the election results?
I just spoke to him once, asking for permission to go to the funeral.
And you've not discussed anything in relation to the elections?
No.
What do you think should be done to ensure that next time we don't have a situation like this? What went wrong that we must be on the lookout for? If you are leaving notes to your successor, should that be the case, what would you tell them to look out for?
What I can say to that answer is that every election is unique. So because every election is unique, you only learn from what happened in the previous election. But every election will bring its own challenges. What I would say, to me, the most important thing is to be transparent. And that is what I learned from the 2014 elections. That be as transparent as you can, so that everybody is following what is happening.
In hindsight, are there things you think you should have done better?
No. For me, the MEC did the best they knew how to do and they could do.
And it still ended here. I'm still interested to know, because you're at a very privileged position. You know how the Electoral Commission operates. You have interacted closely with all political parties. You know the political landscape very well. Certainly something must be wrong. If you did everything that was supposed to be done the way it was supposed to be done, and you say there's nothing whatsoever that you'd change about how you did it, and we still have got a case in court, and we've got 3 of the major political parties alleging that there was rigging, that something must be wrong.
That's why I have said at the very beginning that the Electoral Commission is a management body, and it does not work alone. It works with the stakeholders. When MEC does its part and the stakeholders do their part, things go well. That's why I've said right from the beginning, throughout to the end, we involve the stakeholders. When I say throughout to the end, when you look at the process, like opening of polling stations, stakeholders are there. The ballot boxes are shown to them. It's empty, yes. We are sealing, yes. These are the seals, yes. Can you take down the seal numbers? Yes. And the voting is done when the stakeholders are there, together with MEC staff. At the end, they will close and say, these are the boxes. Yes. Can you check the seals? Yes. Seal number so, number so. I'm breaking the seal. Yes. This is together with the stakeholders. They are watching. They count. At the end, they say, we have counted. This one has got so much. Yes. We are recording. So they record. And they say, now append your signatures. They append their signatures. So, what else? After that, they are auditors. They are auditing. You know, the auditors, the additions and everything, they what? They are doing it together. They sign for them. Then at the National Talent Center, the results sheets are yet again given to the party representatives. Check if all is in a well. And they check, you see, and you do not get a feedback. In fact, even at the Talent Center said we got a feedback from UTM only, and that matter was dealt with. So you get a feedback and you announce. So you can see from beginning to the end, you are moving together. And that's why at one time I said, if you say we are rigging, then we are all rigging together. Because we are all together. From the very beginning, you are like this, up to the very end.
So maybe we haven't seen the last of this. We could possibly have another election that goes down the same trail that this one has gone. That's kind of hopeless to me. I expected you to be in a position to say, maybe if we fix this problem, we might stop this from happening again.
For me, what I know is the process. And I don't find anything wrong with the process. And if I begin to talk about what other people did or should have done, when I'm saying other people, that's outside the make,
yes,
then I'm speaking to them. But the good thing is, after an election, there are post-mortem meetings with the stakeholders. You look at everything together and see where you did well and where you did not do well, and then you come up with recommendations on how to improve. This is exactly what we did in 2014. That's why you have seen that the talent center in 2014 was at the district.
yes.
But this time,
It was constituency.
Stakeholders said it is difficult for us to travel long distances, and maybe there's a chance of altering and what have you. Let us have it at the constituency talent center, where people will easily go. And that was done. And even with that, people are still complaining. I don't know. When we have these post-mortem meetings, maybe we'll come up with something. But as you are asking me at the moment, I think we have done the best we could do.
As one of the most respected legal minds in Malawi, what do you understand by majority rule, especially in relation to an election like this?
Majority rule in respect to the elections?
Yes, to the results of an election like this. And I ask that in reference to queries that have been there about how a leader should be able to get the majority vote so that they can have mandate to govern a country.
You know, in all this, it is the law. And where does the law come from? It comes from the people. It's the parliament that passes the law. And I was there when the constitution was being drafted. I attended the constitutional conferences. We discussed a lot of things. And after many, many discussions, we came up with a particular system, democratic system, voting system. And that's what we have. So according to that, our democratic system, voting system, which provides for first past the post, that's the majority. So to me, it's what the law is.
Are you proud of the work that you did as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission in Malawi?
Yes, I am.
What would you say to those who feel shortchanged that the process was not fair and credible? What would you say to them?
What I would say to them is that Malawians, let us be attentive to what is being said, one. Secondly, Malawians, let us take an interest in following processes. Because when you understand the process and what has to be done, and you do it, you will see that things, they have gone in a particular way. You know, if we do not educate ourselves to understand the processes, we tend to see the world with our eyes, the way we see it. And secondly, thirdly, what I have learned during the elections is that Malawians are very intelligent people. They are very knowledgeable. And so much these days that they are doing very well in computers, ICT, and the phones, the social media, and the level of wisdom, intelligence that has been displayed. If it is used positively, would have people come up, would have fiction writers, you know, who write fiction stories. They will sit down and dream of a thing and write and sell books. We will have people come up with a good invention, like the Star Wars. The Star Wars don't exist, but someone sat down and imagines that they are Star Wars, and they take people's time watching the cartoons. Why am I saying this? The amount of fake news, it takes a mind to come with the fake news. So I would say, let us take time to look at fake news. Let us use our wisdom. For example, there's a story going out there that I have received 2 billion watch. And there was even a petition that people should sign to petition Britain not to allow me into Britain. It is in the social media. I have been surprised and shocked that the people that have believed, it's not just the common man on the street, PhD holders, professors, and what have you, they have believed. But it will just take simple knowledge to look at that as a knowledgeable person, people that have traveled. To begin with, 2 billion is not a handbag money. Do you understand? I was trying to figure out, even if somebody went to get a 5 million kwacha from the bank, the notes alone, you will have to have a small suitcase to carry them. Now, do you know that 30 million banknotes, whether it is a 1,000 banknotes or 2,000, 30 million weighs 30 tons. 60 million weighs 60 tons. And what is going out in the media is that someone gave me cash. If I was getting cash, let's say 60 million, but this is a 2 billion. 2 billion, I would need 120 10 tons lorries to bring the money here. This is a simple mathematics understanding. And apart from that, they are saying, okay, it has been transferred. For me, I will only, if anybody is traveling outside Malawi, you are allowed a maximum of $3,000. We have heard in Malawi that someone has been found with money at the airport. How do they find? When you are traveling, you take your hand luggage through scanning, and the scanning will show money. You must always show the source of your money. If you are depositing money in the bank in Malawi now, at a national bank, cash, there's on the deposit slip, there's a place where you must indicate the source of the money. Whether it is business, whether you have sold a house or anything, you must indicate the source. So, physically, it's impossible that I can change that amount of money in Malawi. And even if I changed, it will be cargo. It will not be on me. It will be cargo. Even was it this morning, someone sent something, or last night, that I have been arrested at the Aratambo. I have 2.5 million US dollars. How? Where would I carry it? Do you understand? And then in the UK, if you get a transfer of £1,000, they call you to tell them the source. They will call you, what is the source of this money? They are so strict about money laundering laws. And the people that have traveled, they should know this. And even if that money was going to be transferred from bank to bank, when you are transferring money through the bank, it is in US dollars. It goes to New York before it goes to England. And the people have talked about a house that I bought in 1986. Even maybe the one who was writing about it was not even born. I've bought a house in Nottingham. It was bought in 1999. Do you understand? And all these, they are things that the people can easily sit down and think and even look around and begin to say, you know, the evidence is there. It takes even somebody just to find out. So what I can say is that Malawians, we are destroying our own country by all this fake news. But the intelligence and wisdom that we have to generate all this fake news, we can use it positively to build our country, not to destroy it.
Should it so happen that this matter has been resolved by the courts and it has been established that indeed there was rigging in the past election, how would that make you feel?
It will not change my feeling. Because if there is a rigging that I don't know, it will not change my feeling. Do you know, as a commissioners, we did not go to the polling centers. What we relied upon is the process that we have put in place, which we had shared with the stakeholders. We were seated in the boardroom, and everything will be processed. And as I said, that they expected the commission to endorse, but we just didn't endorse. We went through the processing. That's why it was taking long. So it will not change anything, because I have never had a mind to rig, as I have told you over and over again. Mm-hmm. To me, the process the way it is, I believed it would not be rigged. And we took every necessary step to ensure that there will not be rigging. When we went for the printing of the voting materials, the monitors were there, they were satisfied, they understood how the voting materials will be used, and we believed they will share with their political parties, their candidates. So there's nothing at all that was done under the carpet. But in life, you can do everything, do you understand, to stop something happening. But there are always maybe evil minds. We used to put burglar bars and think things will not come in. But eventually thieves found a way of making holes in the walls to get into the place, to get into somebody's house, to get into somebody's property. So we deal with the issues that are on the ground that we know. But evil minds, they are also working overtime to beat a system. So I will be surprised, but it will not change my conviction that we did everything possible within our power to ensure that the elections were transparent, credible.
Justice Dr. Jane Ansah, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for giving us time to talk to you.
Thank you.
And this is how we wind up our exclusive interview with Justice Dr. Jane Ansah, the chairperson of the Malawi Electoral Commission. My name is Job Frank Chakaza. Goodbye.